Y'all haters corny with that Illuminati mess. Paparazzi catch my fly and my cocky fresh. I'm so reckless when I rock my Givenchy dress. I'm so possessive, so I rock his rock necklaces. My daddy Alabama.
All right, so what's up, everybody? Thank y'all so much for tuning in to the second episode of My Confidence Is. I'm so blessed and honored to have my friend Chastity here with me. So, Chastity, you want to tell us a little bit about yourself?
I'm 21. I graduate from LSU in May. I'm headed to law school for social justice and public law. And that's pretty much it.
All right, I respect that. And thanks so much for being here with us. Like I said,
Course.
y'all, this is really going to be an honor. We were initially supposed to have a mutual friend of ours, Megan Gillian, but she couldn't make it today. But you guys will see her again in like future episodes. So today, everybody, we're going to jump right into it. We're going to talk about My Confidence Is Black Girls Rock. And the way I want to start this off is by talking to Chastity. A quote by Lauryn Hill says, "I may not be your favorite color, but one day you're going to need me to complete your picture." So like when you hear something like that, what does that mean to you?
It amazes me how people lose sight of how necessary Black women are. When you think about culture, as far as like pop culture, when you think about trends, fads, or whatever we deem important as far as looks or whatever, Black women are often the core of that. You know, if you think of hair, if you think of beauty, if you think of clothes, all of that, a lot of it stems from Black culture, and particularly Black women, whether it's our confidence, our style, or whatever. So I think that quote definitely speaks to the necessity of Black women, especially because we're so diverse within our own race. Like there's so many different types of Black women. There's so many different shades of us. So I love that. I've never heard that. I like that.
So I just heard you say like there's so many different shades of Black women. Like, why do you think that that's so powerful, especially in like today's culture?
Well, it speaks to the diversity. It speaks to breaking the stereotype. You know, when people think of Black women, they often think of dark, overly powerful, angry, whatever the case may be. But what's crazy is so many different people have different types of stereotypes of Black women. So when you think of a Black woman, it may be a brown, sensual, sweet woman. Or when someone else thinks of a Black woman, it may be light-skinned housewife who depends on a man. So everyone's perception of Black women is so different. So when we think of shades and all of that, it's very important to be cognizant of how many different types there are, because it keeps you from limiting your perception. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So when I think of a Black woman, of course, the first person I think of is myself and my mom. But she's my color, but she has olive skin and she has jet black hair.
Right.
So it's so many different types, and it makes you smile, but at the same time, it makes you very scared because society doesn't know how to take us.
Right.
So it just depends on the person, honestly.
Right. I think when it comes to Black women, you know, like you, the first person you want to think of is like your parents, like your mom, your grandmother, those women who just molded those rules and foundations that stand so firm in your family, like as to this day.
Right.
And I'm gonna be 100% honest. Like my favorite song is "Run the World" by Beyonce, and just what I love so much about that song is just like she says, like it's not so much about the fact that men think that they can overthrow women, especially in terms of like money, power, success. I feel like she's really trying to say, you know what? It's about like women finally taking the stand to say, you know what, we're strong, we're independent, and there's so many different shades of like women that are featured like in that video. But that's just like my perception. So when it comes to like that song, what did you take from that?
What I took of it was, especially at the time the song was made, Black women were in so many different things. Like if you think about it, we now have Black women who are DAs.
Right.
We have Black women who are authors. We have Black women who are Black girls, little girls who are breaking barriers as far as creating multi-million dollar deals for themselves and being creative and simply doing things that we consider normal, you know? So I think the importance of that song is basically saying you can do it, you know, and don't allow anyone else to tell you you can't. And not only that, it's very important to understand the strength of a Black woman. And I think that song really portrays that, because it shows that we're not just meant to be the Black man's side. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
We are more than capable of standing alone. Now, is that ideal? No, but it's possible, and it's what we've been doing for so long. So it's time that you recognize that.
Definitely,
You know what I'm saying?
I completely understand that. So now we can jump into questions, because I'm really dying to know, like,
This is really fun.
this is nice. I'm really dying to know, like, your answers to some of these questions that, like, I've always wanted to ask women.
Okay.
So to you, what does it mean to be a woman?
Ooh, to be a woman means to own your sensitivity, your vulnerability, and your emotions. Because being a woman, you're often told you're too much of those things. You're too emotional, you're too sensitive. But that's the beauty of what makes you a woman. You see what I'm saying? That's what balances the man. Because men often, although men have those things, they are hunters. Men are natural hunters. They are born to chase. They are born to hunt after success, or whatever the case may be. So we are the balance. We are the ones who calm you down, who create that peace, who create that sensuality, that home feeling that every man needs.
Right.
So to me, being a woman means to naturally create balance, just by being yourself and creating that energy and those vibrations that are needed in society. If it was a world full of men, it would be chaotic.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? So being a woman just means being sensual and being full of flow and being full of energy and knowing what each person needs and being conscious and being aware, not only of yourself and of your body and of your spirit, but of the people around you. You know, if you've ever experienced, I know I just had this experience the other day, sitting in a room and a woman walks in and you can feel her.
Right.
Like, to me, that's what it means to be a woman. And I love that. I love being a woman.
That's beautiful. So are you saying that, like, because I heard you say, like, in a world full of men, it could possibly be really, really chaotic. Are you also saying that, like, it's not so much about having 100% women, 100% men, but it's about having a balance of both, but letting women make sure that they have their sense of purpose, kind of, sort of?
Yes, of course, balance is needed no matter what you're involved in. So, of course, there needs to be a balance of men and women. But I think the most important thing is not necessarily allowing women to have a purpose, but creating space for that purpose to evolve. Right. You get what I'm saying? There's a difference, because if you're letting me have a purpose, then that means you dictate my purpose. But if you simply respect me as a woman and say, because you are a woman and because you were born, no other reason, simply because you were born, you are more than allowed to have a voice, a purpose, a sense of self, and you are allowed to evolve. And I respect that. And even if that means I'm going to have to back up sometimes, or even if that means I'm not going to have the last word, I respect you as a woman. And because of that, I'm going to let you do you. That's what that means as far as having balance.
That's deep. I mean, I respect that, like, 100%, especially hearing that from, like, in terms of a woman, because I don't want to sit up here and continue to have that same mindset of, like, well, I mean, women were put here to be, like, the man's slave, or women were put here to be, like, the second choice. I feel as though men and women are just both placed on this earth equally, and we both have a purpose.
Exactly.
So, and
no purpose is greater than the other.
Definitely, like, I mean, they both balance each other out, like you were saying, like, that balance is, like, so essential, it's so important. And the next question I have for you is, what's the strongest trait you possess as a woman?
That is a hard question for me, because I'm so aware of myself. The strongest trait I carry as a woman is my intuitive nature.
Mm-hmm.
I think that has created so many opportunities for me, education wise, business wise, or even on a personal level. I am so in tune with who I am.
Mm-hmm.
And don't mistake it. I mean, there are days where I'm just feeling so out of whack or I feel off balance. But knowing that I have the power to check myself and center myself,
Mm-hmm.
I think that is one of the most beautiful things about myself. And it used to scare the hell out of me.
Mm-hmm.
Because I remember being 10, 13, and being so deep and being so emotionally aware.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to tell myself, like, you are way too sensitive. You need to let that go.
Mm-hmm.
But as I get older, it's like, well, no, that's your guidance. You're guiding yourself.
Right.
So appreciate that, because there are a lot of women who deny that characteristic and choose not to nurture it. Because
Right.
that's the thing. A lot of people say, well, Chastity, you're so deep or whatever. We all have that.
Right.
You have that. You see
Right.
what I'm saying? It's just all in whether or not you choose to nurture that.
Mm-hmm.
You choose to nurture it through your YouTube channel. I choose to nurture it through reading and through conversation and through touching people and through making sure that my energy is right. So that when
Definitely.
people experience me, they'll want to experience me again. You see what I'm saying? So being intuitive is amazing. It has kept me from making a lot of bad decisions.
Mm-hmm.
And just having the ability to say, wait a minute. Okay. Take a second. Think about this. And don't just think about it on the surface, but what does this really mean? And then going from there. I love that about myself. I absolutely love that.
And that is beautiful. That's a very strong trait to have. Like, you have to be very intuitive with yourself. And I don't feel as though it's mostly about, like, being a woman and you have to be intuitive because that's what society says. I feel like that can just go with both men and women, because I notice I have to be very intuitive with myself as well. To say, you know what, sometimes I want to be with people. Sometimes I need my own energy to say, you know what,
Yes.
what am I doing wrong, or what can I improve on? What
Right.
do I need to do to become a better me?
Right.
Not even tomorrow, but within like the next few seconds to become a better person for me, if that makes sense.
Yes, it does.
And like, that is so important. All right, the next question is, if you could change one quality about a man, what would it be?
If I could change one quality about a man. That's so hard. Because I used to have such a limited view of men. I used to think that, like, all men were super aggressive.
Yeah.
Or, like, all men were, like, barbaric
Right.
and competitive. But they're not. Like, I've met so many sensitive men who are just as sensitive as me.
Right.
But still super masculine.
Mm-hmm.
But based on my general experience,
Mm-hmm.
I would change the man's ability to reflect. I would change that.
Mm-hmm.
I wish there were a lot more men who were willing to reflect on their behavior and reflect on how their circumstances have influenced their behavior and their energy. I wish more men would be willing to do that, because I think if they were more willing to do that and more willing to reflect, they would, one, understand the women's point of view of them. Not saying that our point of view of them is more important than their own.
Right.
But I think it would create more balance in their personality. And it would force them to say, wait a minute. I know that what I'm about to do could affect her in a negative way.
Mm-hmm.
Let me stop that. Let me check that real quick. And it doesn't make you weaker.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't make you less of a man, because being a man doesn't mean to be hard.
Right.
Or it doesn't mean to be rough.
Mm-hmm.
It simply means to have a masculine energy that balances the woman. So I think if men were more willing to reflect, that would save us a whole lot of trouble. I really do.
I'm sure it would. And I noticed that you said something about men don't have to necessarily be aggressive. Do you think that there are some men out there who say, you know what, I'm going to be aggressive because that's what society says I'm supposed to be. I'm going to be aggressive because that's what I'm expected to do. Or do you think that there are some men out there who say, you know what, I'm aggressive because I work out, or I'm aggressive because I play sports. I'm aggressive because that's what I want to do. Or do you think it's maybe like a combination of both?
I think it's a combination of both, because one thing I've learned about guys is men do what women like, right? So, and men also do what women allow. And I've always, my grandmother told me this when I was a kid. She always said, understand that women make men. Not that we are not that we are your creator, but meaning we have a stronger influence over you than either one of us believe or either one of us understand. So men are aggressive because, one, they've been told to be. And that's a whole nother history lesson within itself. But also men are aggressive because of fear. I'm going to be aggressive because being aggressive covers up my emotional imbalance. It covers up my vulnerability. And it saves me from having to deal with all this stuff that you got me dealing with. Right. So I'm going to be aggressive. And also being aggressive helps them cope with a lot of things that maybe they haven't dealt with on a personal level. Or it also may help them cope with rejection. It may help them cope with several different personal issues that they have. So I think being aggressive is just a mixture of both. It depends on the man.
And that's why you were saying it's so important when it comes to like defining yourself without aggression. You have to reflect on what you're doing to say, you know what, am I doing this because it's what I've been told? Am I doing this because that's what I was born into?
Right.
But the thing is that aggression can have such a powerful effect on the woman, especially in terms of being in a relationship.
Exactly. Because the thing is, being aggressive is not bad. I'm aggressive.
Right.
However, I have balance. I know that if I'm in a relationship, if I'm talking to my partner, I don't have to be aggressive with him. I can channel my feminine energy and I can tell him in a softer way, babe, I need this. What can you do about that? However, when it comes to work and when it comes to me chasing my dreams and making sure that I have what I need, I'm very aggressive. Right. And I don't take no for an answer. So I think it just needs balance, and I think men being overly aggressive speaks to their fear of something. But I think aggression is needed. It just all depends on the root of it and why you have it. You see what I'm saying? Intentions are everything. So being aggressive is not also bad, but it needs to be balanced out.
Respect that. All right, so I want to take like an interesting route, y'all, and feel free to comment in the comments below once we're finished with the video. But what the route I want to take now is, Chassie, what do you think it means to be a Black woman?
Oof.
Because we talked about what it means to be a woman and like the qualities that women possess. But what do you think it means to be a Black woman? Like, what makes her so different than everybody else?
The Black woman is, I want to start off by saying being a Black woman is the greatest honor. Because with being Black comes with such dignity and pride. I feel proud when I walk around and I wear my hair how it naturally grows out of my head, or I know that my influence is so great, which is why we are so feared. I love that. And so being a Black woman to me means being confident, understanding the job you have and the duty that you have on this earth. We come with a different type of mission than any other woman. Being a Black woman means not only supporting Black men and making sure that our men are loved because they've gone so long without it, but it also means understanding the importance of loving ourselves. Because, and that goes for anyone, but specifically for Black women, if you don't love you, no one else is going to have the power to do so.
Right.
Like, being a Black woman is so powerful within itself. Like, just the identity.
Mm-hmm.
You have to love it. You have to embrace it first. Because look at me, or look at other Black women. If we don't accept it, other people don't know what to do with us. They don't know how to take us because, one, we're naturally strong. Mm-hmm. We're naturally bold. We're naturally confident. We already look different. Our features are so different. Our features are strong. The way we walk, the way we talk, the way we sit, the way we evoke passion out of people. That is special. That is so special. And nobody else can do it like we can. Mm-hmm. And I think the sooner more Black women start to understand that at younger ages, the society will become much more powerful. Mm-hmm. And society will quickly understand this is not something you can bully. It's not something you can get rid of. Mm-hmm. This is it. This is it. And like I said, Black women are the core of a lot of fashion trends, sayings, all of that. Like, if you just think about, terms that have been coined simply because they didn't know how to define us, neo-soul, or just different things of that nature. We are trendy. We are, we vote trends. We are not trendy. We are very consistent people. Mm-hmm. And I think the moment we start to understand the power that lies within us, then we can soon evoke more change. Right. So being a Black woman it means the world. It means the world to not only us, but a lot of people. Without us, other cultures wouldn't know what to do with themselves. You see what I'm saying? We were the start of a lot of things. Right. So being a Black woman is necessary. That's, if I had to come up with one word, it's necessary. Very necessary.
And that kind of leads me into my next question. How do you think Black women are portrayed in terms of the media versus like how you see them? Because I can scroll on Facebook on a typical Wednesday afternoon and see, there's this new video out there on like World Star with like these Black girls fighting. Mm-hmm. And then you'll see those videos and those pictures and say, 14-year-old Star Johnson is going to be like the first Black Supreme Court justice at the age of 14. Mm-hmm. It's like the media portrays Black women in so many different ways. So like, when you see those things, what do you think? How do you think the media portrays them versus how you see them like within your everyday interaction with them, even yourself?
I'm not gonna say the media is completely wrong. Because I do think another part of being Black is having personal responsibility for our actions and how we choose to be portrayed. However, I will say when you see things like Black girls fighting each other, or because you also have to think a lot of us are recording those things. Right. So when you see us fighting each other, or when you see the media portraying the Black woman's body as an object, as solely as a sexual being, it does nothing but continue the cycle of disrespect and continue the excuses of, well, if they can disrespect themselves, why we can disrespect them too. So I think the media should do a better job of choosing more positive images because they are out there. Right. You don't see, I can't even think of the little Black girl's name. She was so cute, but she just got a multi-million-dollar deal with Whole Foods for making her own lemonade. Like, that's not in the news. That's not worldwide. And that's important because she's making history. Or the little girl who started a book drive because she didn't see enough of us in the stories that she was reading because she loves to read. You don't see that in the news because it would reject so many ideas of Black women. So I simply choose to see the positive images. I choose to seek what I want to see because it motivates me to continue doing what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
It's very easy to get caught up in the negativity. It's very easy to only focus on them fighting over there or twerking or whatever the case may be, which all of those things are very prevalent in other cultures too. It just so happens that the light is shined on ours because
Right.
it's easier for us to be taken negatively.
Exactly.
So, I mean, it's gonna do what it's gonna do. But I think we've done a very great job at continuing to create positive images for ourselves, and that's our responsibility. It's not the media's responsibility to take us or respect us. That's fine. That's them.
Mm-hmm.
But as long as we do it within ourselves, and the more we do it within ourselves, they'll have no choice but to recognize sooner or later. So I think we just have to take greater personal responsibility for what we're doing and do a better job at partnering with each other and creating that space for each other to do with each other positive things. So, I mean, that's a difficult one because the conversation can go so many different ways. Because, like I said, that's a totally different history lesson within itself. So,
right. And like the last question before we close, I know I asked you what was like your strongest trait like as a woman, but what do you think the black woman's strongest versus weakest trait can be within herself or within society? Like, what do you think the strongest versus weakest trait can be with that?
the strongest trait, self-awareness. When a black woman becomes aware of herself, you in trouble. Because when you become self-aware, you become aware of all things within you. You become aware of your sensuality, your mind, your intuition, your emotional well-being, your will to protect your energy and your space. So being self-aware is the strongest trait a black woman has. Because I remember being as a teenager, or even younger than that, feeling like I was ugly. I hated my skin color. I hated my eyes. I always got teased about how big my nose was. I felt like my lips were way too big. But as I grew up and really started to kind of, it was like, it's like a switch went off. Like I kind of started to dig myself. I was like, I'm not that bad, And once I started to really channel that, I was like, there's nothing anybody can tell me about myself that I don't already know.
Mm-hmm.
But however, the weakest trait is, or could be, mistaking your confidence or misusing your confidence as a tool for bullying.
Mm-hmm.
Because I've seen that a lot. Being in college, I've seen that a lot. Just because I'm confident in who I am doesn't mean I have to make you feel less confident about who you are.
Right.
You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Just because I love myself don't mean I have to make you not love yourself to make me feel even better.
Mm-hmm.
That does nothing for either one of us. I can love myself and still hope that you love yourself and still promote your self-love.
Mm-hmm.
And even in you loving yourself, it could help me love myself even more because then I can appreciate the fact that I was a catalyst for your change. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So that could be a huge weakness for black women because I see it so often, especially with colorism and your curl pattern is looser than mine, your skin is lighter than mine, or your skin is smoother than mine, or I'm mixed, you're not. It doesn't matter. We all fight the same fight.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter. So you still got to check that same box I got to check. So it doesn't matter. So I think that could be the weakest trait in the black woman or black woman.
And that is beautiful, and that's just so essential because the thing is, it's about being confident, it's not about being arrogant.
Mm-hmm.
Because I feel as though sometimes when people, and I've been guilty of this myself, sometimes you can be very arrogant, you can be ignorant to the fact that, like, I mean, you're confident, but there's still so many issues about yourself that you're not realizing, and you're choosing to overlook that. So it's almost like you're ignorant to your own self, if that makes sense. Versus like when you're confident, it's like, I mean, if you want to sit up here and say, every single morning when you wake up, hey, I'm confident in who I am and I don't have to change that, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. But the thing is, sometimes confidence speaks for itself. And just the reason why, I just choose to say, I'm simply confident every single day of the week is because it's not so much me saying, what, I'm better than Chastity, I'm better than, the average black man out there, or the greater black man or less black man. It's not me saying I'm better than anyone else. It's me saying, what, it just took me so long to say, what, I'm getting up every day to say, I'm going to school. That's what I want to do.
It's self-affirmation.
It's self-affirmation. And this is me saying, I really hope I can push somebody else out there to look at yourself and say, you're simply confident just because it's not about where you come from. It's not about what race you are. It's not about sexual orientation. It's not about, what society labels you as. It's not about the label. It's about she's saying, what, society is going to label me as black. Okay, I'm going to take that. I'm going to run with it. And then what am I going to do with it?
Right.
How can I sit up here and say, well, I'm a black man and we're not all in jail. We're going to school. We're getting educations. We're making differences out there. Like, we're raising our kids. Like, we're being different. And the reason why I just wanted to talk so much about, like, being a black woman is because I feel as though in society, like the way y'all portrayed, y'all aren't given enough credit to say, what, we're strong, we're modest, we're bold. It's kind of like you're just so much in the background in terms of saying, like, well, men, they raise the kids, they're strong, they protect the households, but it's like, what's a woman's purpose? And I feel as though in today's day and age, like, more women should start speaking up for themselves and saying that we're bold, we're confident. I mean, and don't be afraid to say, we're black. And we're proud to be black, and it's something that we're never gonna change. It's something we're never gonna apologize for.
Right.
And I just want to thank you so much just for stopping by today, just to give like your intuition and just to provide your feedback out there.
No problem.
So before we.
Fun.
It was, and I really wish that like y'all could get the feeling that like I'm getting right now, just like sitting here talking, like getting this advice, like the feeling is just so surreal. So it's not like any advice that you would give any black girls out there, any black girls who rock or who are trying to find themselves that you haven't said already.
If I had to give any piece of advice, I tell myself this every day. 2 things. Love yourself the way you want others to love you. And you are more than worthy of respect, love, dignity, pride, and all of that simply because you were born and nothing else. You don't owe anyone anything. And that's it.
And with that being said, y'all know the way we close it out every single week. Our three favorite quotes. Stay humble, stay gracious, but most important, stay confident. Y'all be blessed.